chances are high that you belong to one of the following groups. Group A, usually the Muslim critics say that there is no Muslim majority country that has ever separated church from state or religion from state. Then there's Group B that says, oh my goodness, Group A is so dumb. Of course, there is Turkey that has abolished the Ottoman Empire, the Sultanate, the center spot of the Sunni branch of Islam, in order to build up a French-style republic. And therefore, they practice laicist, which is their form of laicism. And of course, they separate religion from the state. And this sounds so good. It sounds so great. And a lot of Western people, including conservatives, really like to hear this. They love to hear it. And the story is usually told by Kemalists. They are socialists in Turkey who say, well, they had separated religion and state, and the mosques are free to kind of say what they want. They are independent from the state. Or let's say they would not go as far as to say it like this, because maybe then they would start thinking that maybe we mean something else when we say laicism than what they say when they say click. So this is a mouthful to unpack, I guess, but it is relevant for the following story. Turkey is not a laicist country. Turkey is a country that, a bit like Germany, is paying lip service to Western ideas, but does not follow through. And therefore they call themselves laicists, but they don't practice laicism. All sermons in the mosque are written by the government. I repeat, all priests in Turkey read out the words of the government. That's the exact opposite of laicism. But what do the Kemalists mean? They mean that their version of Islam, as it was preached in the mosques, did not ask women to wear headscarves, for example. They just made everybody look a bit more Western. So a Turkish man would shave, for example. They were not harangued in the mosques to be anti-Western and to align with the interests of other Muslims all the time for the sake of it. The laicism of Turkey is merely a weaker commitment to the Islamic Ummah. And this trick has been very successful. It's very superficial, obviously. We are talking about clothes. Most of the time we are talking about headscarves and beards and shirts and so forth, and also some political alliances. They're very superficial, wants to get some business deals through and so forth. But it is just a music that sounds so nice that Westerners love to believe this. Mass migration, however, creates a new challenge for this concept, because the expat community needs the leadership, the spiritual guidance of the one and true only faith the government decrees. And this can only be guaranteed when the ministry props up some outposts in other countries. And in Germany, this outpost of the government ministry Diyanet is called the Ditib. And the relationship between our government and the Turkish government, represented by the Ditib, is under constant strain. 2 weeks ago, the state of Hesse has stopped its cooperation with Ditib in order to establish its own religious instructions in public schools. Now you wonder, wait a second, I can kind of grasp that Turkey does have a dishonest relationship to secularism. They say they are secular, but they are not. But how is that somehow clashing with Germans giving religious instructions in their government school? That can't be true. How can that be when we know that Germans are either an anti-religion or they are in this green cultish paganism? Every Hinduism or other heathenism is superior supposedly to Christianity, Judaism, and so forth. So how can there be a school system clashing with the demands of the Islamic decrees? And the answer is, well, Germany is not secular either. So we have a clash between two cultures that are both dishonest about their level of secularism and their commitment to Western values in general. However, when somebody takes notice of this, they are only complaining about the Turkish government having too much influence about religious affairs and trying to push that down our throats here in Germany. And so the Hessian Minister of Education and Culture, Alexander Lorz, has moaned that Diyanet, the orders of the Diyanet, have a direct line from Ankara to Ditib in the federal organization in Cologne, and then from there it makes its way, the orders make their way into Wiesbaden, the capital of Hesse, and into the public schools of his state. And this were unacceptable. And of course it is. And the solution here is that one cultish small Muslim community called the Ahmadiyya, they are originally from Pakistan, have very strange they have a very strange idea of Islam, that they can continue to give religious instructions in the classrooms when they can manage to have enough pupils sign up to it, I suppose. But by and large, the lessons that were given by Ditib before should now be given by the German government. So the solution is not that religion is moved out of public schools in general, or that it becomes totally voluntary, which would also be fine. It is just that they want the German government to actually decide what is being said in the classroom. And it kind of, you sense the actual conflict behind this, because you have, again, two cultures that are not committed to Western values, that do not believe in separation of church and state, and they do not believe in free thoughts and so forth. What will never happen is that those two cultures will ever move religion out of the state and the state out of religion, and uphold the values they pay lip service to, and end the conflict there. Instead, the only alternative they have is to fight for power. So we have a debate about a modernized, Europeanized Islam, which is basically giving the Western, leftist Western government propaganda through the mouth of the teachers and the mosques and so forth to the expat communities from various Islamic cultures. And they are in an open power struggle with those who bring their own culture and religion with them. And because none of these cultures are subscribing to debate and, a freedom of thought, the only way they have is to shout each other down. And this takes the form of them virtually stomping their feet on the ground. And the German side would say, look at our constitution, you have to pay lip service to the Western values that are enshrined in it to some degree. It's all watered down already in the same document, but anyway. You have to pay lip service to our constitution, you have to put down the headscarf and so forth. So they are kind of aligning with the Kemalists again. The Turkish side will stomp the feet on the ground and say, wait, there is Allah above, and he is superior and more important to your words. We will do what he demands, and we will outbreed you. And the others will maybe stomp their feet on the ground again and say, we have been here for longer, it's our culture, it's our country. And they will say, no, this planet is God's planet and we will outbreed you. Your past may be in this country, but our children will take it over in the future. The future will be ours. And so we have two groups stomping their feet on the ground and are unable to just simply keep the values that they pay lip service to and settle the conflict. This is essentially the issue with almost every topic I touch. If people would embrace Western values, that would mean they could settle their disputes. It's the Western system is the only system. It's logically the only system that allows people to settle disputes. If you don't abide to these principles, the aggression will just ramp up over the years and people will ultimately resort to violence. It's always the same story. No matter what principle you take, the Western system is the one, quite logically, that allows conflicts to be solved. And Ditib has announced that they consider to sue against the decision. They don't even bother to explain on what law they want to sue Hesse for not allowing them into the schools and preach to school children. Plus, I mean, they really think that there's some sort of law that would allow people to get into the classroom and force children to listen to them. I mean, the idea is outrageous already. So instead we will have this German government written curriculum where the Muslim kids are forced to listen to a different set of sermons, so to say, and this will be this will be rolled out across 62 schools in Hesse over the years 2020 and 2021. Same difference as far as I'm concerned. The kids will not learn to separate religion from state, and they will not learn to think on their own. What I think is even more outrageous is the reaction of the Social Democrats. There is an MP of the state, Christoph Degen, who says we need a lasting construction that is carried by all concerned groups. A solution bypassing Ditib is not feasible because of the sheer size of the group and the number of its members. So this is most concerning for me because this reflects on how Germans think about democracy. It is all about, look how big a group has already become, how powerful an interest group is. We still have medieval guilds, professional guilds called Wirtschaftsverbände, Arbeitgeberverbände, and so forth. And likewise, there are other groups, trade unions, churches, and so forth. And the German understanding of democracy or how a state should be run is to look what group grows and could threaten your own power. And if you cannot bully it away, you have to form alliances. So you ring up the leaders, the speakers, and you trade. You just negotiate some backdoor trade. So everybody will eventually be betrayed on the ground. The speakers get some rewards, and the leaders of these diverse groups. So the leaders are rewarded. They will get invited to all the cocktail parties. They will, be in and or walk. And this is how power is aggregated in this country. It is never, and I emphasize this, it is never about public debate and a decision being made on the ballot boxes. In Germany, it is all about watching what group gains power and trying to to create some backdoor compromise so that the leaders at least are satisfied and everybody else is disconnected from actual decision making. This is how politics have been run in this country for decades. And in recent years, when all these elites of the various groups have combined their interests and act openly against the wider public, this principle has kind of come to the fore. You can say, well, there are also backdoor deals in America, and there's some stuff going on behind the scenes and so forth, and in Great Britain. And yes, that's true, but it's not to the point where this is everything. Also very confusing is the SED MP Elisabeth Kula, who sees, for whatever reason, a basic right threatened, but she would not be able to point it, name it. She can't name it. But she says there is a basic right under threat, and she says that she's also concerned about the instructions coming from Ankara, but she does not explain how. So I think she's just paying lip service to, everybody says there's something, and so I will probably just agree a bit, so I don't care. But the actual matter is, of course, she does want Ditib to give lessons, simply because it undermines the country. And then also weird, she says that this basic right, if it were questioned by the state government, it should be done by the German equivalent of the American Senate, the Bundesrat. Well, if it's a basic right, what difference would it make which institution of the state is breaking it? I can't even follow the logic, but she says it should be done through that Senate equivalent and not through a schlechte Stellung. That means a bringing into a worse position of the Muslim pupils. And by the way, the German bringing into a bad position just sounds as cumbersome as my English translation. Meanwhile, the state of Rhineland-Palatinate has struck a recent new deal with Ditib and a number of other Muslim organizations to have religious instruction coming from Ankara and other places. So in addition to the 900 mosques already served by Ditib in Germany with the sermons, the schools in Rhineland-Palatinate will also be open for them. But I must say that a lot of the people that are now crying out about Ditib and the Diyanet, that is the ministry in Turkey that is directing it, they usually come from the Kemalist side, from the socialists that have already a history of preaching really stupid stuff. We must not forget that Kemal Atatürk, even though he is praised by the West, by the Westerners, and also, included conservatives and Muslim critics, he was also forcing pupils to learn stupid shit, and he also controlled entirely what people should believe. And an example of that, I think a very hilarious one, is the famous sun language theory. So pupils in Turkey had been forced for many decades to learn that all languages derive from a Proto-Turkish dialect. So all languages all around the world have been originated in Turkey. So the lesson we should actually learn is that if you allow the government to control what people think and believe, bullshit follows. And for me, it does not matter if the bullshit comes with a shaved beard or with a long beard, or if the women wear this klobbe or that headscarf. I don't care. Okay, the women can wear what they want, the man can shave or not shave. I don't care. Bullshit is bullshit. You don't allow the government to write your sermons and control what you have to think and believe. That was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.